What is antinatalism? Meet the folks who say no one should have kids ever, and some of them are parents.
Well, that wasn't me. I never said that ever.
I don't regret having my daughter for my sake, but I do regret it for her sake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it is wrong for people to bring children into this world today?
Good question, actually.
And hopefully encourage you, once you've thought about it, to leave your comments in the comment section below. But don't race there too fast. We need to look at some stuff. Let me play for you just a few seconds of a clip that was used in the latest JLB clip show. This is from a podcast that I listen to sometimes called the Femme Podcast. And here is what a mother said about her opinions on the fact that fewer people seem to be having children in the Western world. This is what she said about it.
I saw a stat the other day that was like, by, I don't know, in the next couple of years, like 47% of women are going to be childless and single. Like, yeah, good. Good.
That's just a small bit of what she said. I played the longer clip in that episode, which I'll link to in the show notes below. But basically what she said was, good that women are not having children because men are not making the world safe enough for women to have children. So she said, sorry, not sorry, but she's glad women aren't having children. And she does have a child herself. Just like it says here, meet the folks who say no one should have kids ever. Some of them are parents. So we're not just talking about the child-free subreddit, which seems to be full of edgy teenagers and people in their 20s who are kind of rebelling against the establishment and saying we don't want kids because the government taxes us too much and house prices are too high. We're not just talking about those people. We're talking about even people who have children saying, you know what? Maybe not a good idea to do that.
That's very disturbing to me.
Now, there's a bunch of different reasons, some of them not even directly related to each other, as to why some people feel this way. Here's the Antinatalism wiki page, just for an overview. Antinatalism is a philosophical view that deems procreation to be unethical or unjustifiable. Antinatalists thus argue that humans should abstain from having children. Some antinatalists consider coming into existence to always be a serious harm. Their views are not necessarily limited only to humans, but may encompass all sentient creatures, arguing that coming into existence is a serious harm for sentient beings in general. There are various reasons why antinatalists believe reproduction is problematic. The most common arguments for antinatalism include that life entails inevitable suffering, death is inevitable, and humans are born without their consent. That is to say, they cannot choose whether or not they come into existence. So that's just a brief overview. I'm sure most of you have heard of antinatalism before. What I want to know is, what do you think about this? Whether you have children or not. As part of your deliberation on this topic, I want you to think about this. Do you think the world as it is today, looking ahead over the next few years or decades, do you think the world in which you live is going to more or less stay the same, some good, some bad? Or do you think it's going to get worse? Or do you think it's going to get better? The next question is, whatever or whoever runs this world, whether it is a higher power, or it is humans who pray to a higher power, or it is already AIs in charge, or whatever you think it is that's basically directing the flow of society and where humanity is going, whatever you think it is that's in charge of this place and running it, if anything at all, do you think that thing is neutral? That is, it's neither good nor bad. Do you think it is evil? Or do you think it is good? Where do you sit on that spectrum? Now, here's why I ask, because what I also spoke about in the latest JLB clip show, like I said, I'll link to this in the show notes below, was this bizarre conversation that I heard between my truth uncle Ab, the fakeologist, and one of my other truth uncles, Marcus Allen, when they were talking with Velasset and Sarah, who live west of Sydney. This was like a year or two ago. And Truth Uncle Ab and Truth Uncle Marcus were saying, oh, you've got to have kids, it's the right thing to do. If you don't want to have kids, you're going to change your mind. It's the most important thing you can do, blah, blah, blah. And what Sarah said back to them was, and these are my words, not hers, hold on, don't you two sit here every week and talk about how evil the world is and how bad things are getting? Isn't this a little bit incongruous to, on the one hand, say that the world is bad and getting worse, and then say that people should bring life into the world? So I went into more detail about that, and like I said, I'll link to that episode in the show notes below, or in the comment section below. Let's take a look at this article from today, which is one of the top results if you Google anti-natalism. Anna Ciani describes herself as a regular loving mum of 2 children, but she thinks she shouldn't have had them. Ciani enjoys cheering on her 8-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son at swim meets and taking them on hikes and road trips, always singing along to the radio. Ask Ciani if she has regrets about motherhood, however, and she'll say yes. I don't regret having my children. I love them, Ciani, 42, a logistics analyst in Guatemala, tells Today.com. I do regret the fact that I imposed life on them. I regret forcing them into this life in which I can't guarantee anything except that I will love them forever and do my best to keep them safe. In hindsight, adds Ciani, I would never bring my children into this world. Ciani identifies with antinatalism, a philosophy and a social movement that opposes procreation on moral grounds. If you've heard of pronatalists, people who believe everyone should be having lots of kids, antinatalists are the opposite.
Oh, we got Caesar in the room. We got Pontius Pilate in the room. What is truth, right?
So you get the basic idea of this antinatalism. It's not just childless people making post-facto rationalizations for why they feel like they're better off without kids. This even includes people with children themselves saying, yeah, you're better off not doing that. The world is better off not doing that. The children themselves are better off not being born because look at the world the way that it is. Life inherently involves suffering and eventually death. So why force someone to do that? When you bring a life into the world, you're forcing them to go through all the struggles and troubles of life. It's interesting when they say this idea of, the children didn't choose to be born. There are people out there who believe that we do choose to be born, and even that babies have chosen their parents. There are people who believe that children choose their parents, and ipso facto that these people themselves chose their own parents, and then I guess going back right to the beginning of this whole realm, whenever it all did begin. But you get the idea. Some people think that we, or they, or some of us do choose to be here, even choose their own parents. That is interesting.
Ooh, that's interesting.
But if you don't believe that people choose to be here, then yeah, bringing life into the world, you are choosing for them to be here. Now, naturally, I give my thoughts on all of this and so much more in the latest JLB Eclipse show, which, like I said, I'll link to in the comment section below.
Was that John Levon or was that you?
If you're not aware, by the way, you can join the JLB Patreon for free, which gets you access to every second episode. These things take 4, 5, 6 hours to produce. You get every second one for free. Just go and check out that JLB Patreon. It's free. But this episode, this particular one, is one of the episodes that's only for the coffee club, the people who chip in 0.8 of a coffee once a month. They get access to the whole lot. But you can look into that further. Like I said, links in the comment section below. Now, I want to take a closer look at this antinatalism Wikipedia page. Because if you go to, I only looked at this the other day, right? For the first time. Obviously, I knew about antinatalism, but I hadn't, looked at the Wikipedia page and followed any of the links. But I did that the other day. Now, take a look at what I noticed. In the history section, they say that antinatalist sentiments have existed for thousands of years. Some of the earliest surviving formulations of the idea that it would be better to not have children can be found in ancient Greece. One of the examples is from Sophocles' Oedipus at Colonus, written shortly before Sophocles' death in 406 BC. Well, what I did was I went and tried to find out what is the evidence that this Oedipus dude ever said or wrote any of what is attributed to him. What's the evidence? Now, I know this is a bizarre thing to ask. What? There's a story of history. I want to know, where does the story come from? What kind of a strange person would ever think or ask such a question?
PagingJohnLeBon.com.
Well, I did. So I tracked down a copy of this guy's work, and then I tried to find out, okay, where did they get their story from? These so-called translations, what were they translating from? And it took quite a few hours, but I managed to get to the bottom of the whole thing. I managed to find out, okay, the story that they tell us of this Sophocles dude from thousands of years ago, okay, we know the story. Where's the story come from?
Good question, actually.
So I traced through the sources, took me many hours, but I got to the bottom of it. And what I discovered
scared me to the depths of my miserable soul.
So I put together a 3,000 or 4,000 word article with a bunch of links and screenshots and showed you the process. Okay, here's the story. Let's trace back through the sources to show you what I arrived at. So if you want to know more about that, go and check out the link in the comment section below. I recommend it highly.
Yep.
But let's get back to this. What is antinatalism? Well, you probably already knew before you watched this video, but you do know now. It's the idea that people shouldn't have children for one reason or another, and there's multiple different reasons given. I asked you, do you think the world over the next 5 or 10 years is going to remain roughly as it is, some good, some bad? Do you think it's going to get worse, or do you think it's going to get better? Whoever or whatever runs this place is the second question. Do you think that thing is neutral, or those people are neutral? Or do you think they're evil? Or do you think they're good? And I think those two questions should then lead to your conclusion about antinatalism. That's what I think. But I want your comments in the comment section below. So go and check the links in the pinned comment, and please do leave your thoughts. I'm interested to know. What do you make of this idea that people should not be having children?
Was that a real question or was that soundboard?